All right. Good evening. Good evening. All right. All right. All right. We stole that little tagline from I think it was Kevin Hart.
Kevin
I
Hart.
don't know. Kevin Hart. Yeah. Well, we stole it from him, but I think because we're saying that we stole it, it's not really stealing. We just borrowed it. But yeah, all right, all right, all right. We are so happy to be back with you this Sunday, August 2nd, 2026. We are glad to be back in the house, and we know that you are too. So, before we go any further, oops, turn off. See, that's why you need a production assistant. There we go. Um, Before we go any further, we would like to ask you to reach out to everyone in your contacts, all of your friends, family, neighbors, co-workers, and let them know that we are here on both Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Guys, this show, and I know I say it all the time, but the shows just keep getting gooder and gooder. They do. I mean, this is going to be a really good one. And we really need you to let your friends know that we're here. We're on both Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Let them know because this conversation is one that needs to be had. And I think it's going to bring up some emotions for some people. But I think we need to talk about it because it's something we need to talk about. So we're going to give you just a couple of minutes to let your friends and family know that they should tune in to Lean In with CWJ on either Facebook Live or YouTube Live. Okay, so take a minute. I'll say 30 seconds because you all are proficient with clicking all the buttons you need to click and let everybody know. Because I actually sent my reminders out early this evening because I didn't want anybody to have an excuse about, hey, I didn't know. But yeah, I sent them out early at about 7:45. I think I sent it. So please, please, please let your network know that we are here. All right. Okay, well, they're going to have to get in where they fit in because we have a lot to talk about this evening. Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Marcia Cradle, one third of your hosting team. We also have Pastor Kennard Weaver and Coach Lima Johnson. We are just ecstatic that you're here. We can barely contain ourselves. We were all on early because we knew this conversation was going to be good. So, good evening to everyone, and welcome to another episode of Lean In with CWJ. We're so glad you decided to spend part of your evening with us. As always, tonight is about conversation, not confrontation. We want to hear your perspective, so don't be shy in the comments. We love it when you post in the comments. Whether you're joining us from your living room, your car, or catching us with your family, thank you for being here. Tonight's topic is one that's creating conversations in homes, schools, churches, communities, all across the country. Yes, this is a national conversation. A growing number of schools are implementing policies that require students, let me go ahead and say it requires students to put their phones away or leave them behind altogether during the school day. Supporters say it's helping students focus, improve mental health, and reconnect with learning. Others worry about safety, communication with parents, and whether schools are solving the right problem. So tonight we're asking, is the phone ban punishment or priority? Somebody still has their volume up on their phone, so that's why you're getting the feedback. Okay. So is taking phones away helping students become more engaged learners, or are we removing an important tool they rely on every day? Let's lean in. Pastor Weaver.
Today I'm going to have Coach Lima go first because she is the school age parent here. I'm going to let her go before I give my commentary. I know it's a different setting for Coach Lima as you guys do the homeschooling, but what are your thoughts on this when we decide that this is what we're going to focus on this week?
I think this one is this whole cell phone thing is such a big conversation. It's such a layered conversation, and like you said, my life is a little different because my son is home. However, when we allowed him to have a phone, um, there were conversations around the usage of the phone, being
Mm,
responsible with the phone, um, time limitations, um, safety. There were conversations around, and at that time he was 10. My sister got him a phone. So one of the things I've seen, I can't say that I've seen it in school or I hear a lot of talk about school. I'll leave that up to you two because y'all the experts on that. However, in my family dynamic with teenagers and their phones have been taken, I have seen such a visceral response, a visceral lashing out when that phone is taken from them for whatever reason.
mhm,
And I think that response, the way that they respond, is at the root of this phone addiction, this codependency to these phones. So it's such a nuanced conversation. Um, but I'm going to give it back to you in terms of like the school bans, and because the rules are the rules up in my house, and we haven't had any issues yet. Knock on wood. My son's pretty compliant, but your experiences in school with these phones and these students.
Yeah. And I wonder if the real question is not whether students should have phones in school or not. Right now, I'm wondering if the real question should be whether we are teaching students, we are teaching our children how to manage technology before technology begins to manage them even further. Right? Dr. Krill and I, had, as educators, we understand why schools, to some degree, are implementing phone restrictions. Right? Um, as a pastor and a community leader, I also understand that what we're dealing with is not just simply about a device. Right? It's about attention. It's about identity. It's about relationship. It's about purpose. Right? Phone usage, as we can agree on this, whether you're schooling a child, or you're an educator, or you have a child in the system, phone usage has fundamentally changed childhood.
mhm,
Today's young people, students, children, are growing up with constant notifications. They're growing up with endless comparisons, unlimited entertainment. There's this instant gratification, and the attention span is getting shorter and shorter. We are seeing an increase in anxiety with students. We are seeing an increase in depression, an increase in sleep deprivation. Cyberbullying has gone up over the years.
mhm.
Classroom distractions are at an all-time high. So the issue for me is not simply texting. The issue for me is about attention. Attention has become one of the most valuable commodities in today's economy where our young people are concerned. Everybody's competing for our children's mind and their attention. So I think schools, the education community, um, are asking, can we have students' attention for 6 hours a day?
Mm,
That's not an unreasonable or unrealistic question to ask. Now let's be clear, and let's be clear about this. I hope that no educational leader is thinking, believing that a phone ban alone will solve the problem. Right? Taking phones away during school day does not automatically produce disciplined students. It's not going to happen. Right?
correct.
But it simply removes one distraction. If students can leave school and immediately spend 6 more hours on social media, we have not solved the larger issue at all.
Correct.
So a phone ban is not a replacement. It should not be a replacement. A phone ban is not a replacement for parental involvement and engagement. A phone ban is not a replacement for digital education. A phone ban is not a replacement for emotional intelligence or self-discipline. The restriction helps, yes. Does it transform education? Maybe. But maybe our goal should be to produce students who can manage technology, not students who only behave when technology. Parenting, parental responsibility. Parents cannot outsource parental responsibility to digital parenting.
Mm.
There should be no such thing as digital parenting. Okay? Yes, schools have a responsibility, but parents have an even greater responsibility. So some of the conversation that's happening online, our identity. When young people value likes over their own self-worth,
Mm.
when followers determine their self-confidence, when comparison steals their joy, that's no longer technology. That's emotional dependency. Our children need to know you are more valuable than your profile. You're more valuable than your TikTok page or one of the other pages that you have out there. And so the question has to become: it is a tool, it's not the identity, but we bring it back to the home, parents. We cannot outsource parenting in this digital age. Coach Lima?
So I think part of this conversation too is when you have children or students that where the cell phone has become the identity, because it's a primary portal into their social world.
Mhm.
It's a social lifeline for them. Um, but then what happens when it's the same thing for their parents,
Mm,
right? Where the parents' screen time is the same as the child, or the parent finds their identity in the phone, on the app, right? Because that's another issue surrounding, some of these kids and the students. Some of the parents are just as irresponsible. One of the things also, Pastor, when you were talking about the things that start at home, another thing that should start at home is teaching our children how to respect authority.
mm,
Mm.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
And again, my son has been homeschooled, but his first preschool and kindergarten, his teacher came to the house, and we gave the teacher room to establish authority, right?
mhm,
During the time that she is teaching him, he understood that she's an authority at the level that he understood. Now, fast forward, he's always been homeschooled, but online he has a teacher, he has classmates, he has, different classes that he goes to via online, but he understands the teacher is the authority. When he goes to karate, the sensei is the authority. He understands when you go out the house, we have conversations when you get older. If you ever have encountered a police officer, that he or she is an authority. And I think that's a big one because, and I know that the two of you can attest to this with a lot of students. If you say, put your phone away, or if you tell them anything, they don't respect authority. You get
Hmm.
some serious, you get a high octane reaction.
Yeah, that's
it's
true. And I mean, to the point sometimes of violence.
mhm,
And so that makes me think that the child is suffering, like, and I'm not sure which one of you mentioned this, like in a sense of or some level of anxiety when they're separated from their family. They
yes,
are dealing with a social media dependency. They
yes,
are
yes.
dealing with a fear of missing out. They're dealing with the inability to connect in a face to face
Mhm,
type relationship. So all of those things, like you said, Pastor Weaver, really start at home. And so as parents, we have to teach our children how to, develop relationships and
Correct.
let them know that you can't attend everything. You can't always, and you won't always be invited to attend.
Correct.
So, if you have that dependency where you just can't put the phone down, then it becomes problematic.
Yeah. And it's becoming it's a challenge that our school system are going to have to deal with, right? And
Mhm.
who's going to be policing these phone bans in the schools? See, those
Right.
that are in certain positions can sit behind these resolute desks and make all of these policies and those different things. But who is going to police it? Now that's another challenge, another distraction that the teachers have to deal with having to police them and deal with them. So instead of us asking, should we ban phones in school? Maybe we need to be asking, how do we raise children? How do we raise young people who can live wisely with technology?
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
eventually there will come a time where there won't be teachers monitoring the phones.
Right.
There won't be principals there collecting devices. There won't be parents who are checking screen time, right? Character has to take over where rules leave off.
Hmm.
Let me say that again. Character has to take over where rules leave off. That ought to be the goal, not simply compliant student, but students who will become responsible adults. You can't, mom, dad, as Coach Lima just said about the parents or the adults. You can't, or you ought not to, or you shouldn't go to work and want to be on your device all day. You'll find yourself without a job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
while technology is a wonderful servant, it is a terrible master.
Mm.
Attention in today is one of the most valuable currencies we have. Restriction may change behavior, but character changes lives. So we don't just teach children how to use technology, we teach them when not to use technology. I heard my wife who used to fuss with our kids. You need to get off those phones and go to bed. And our children were well into their teenage years before they were allowed to sleep with their devices in their rooms. A certain time that they had to put, and we got the attitude and all those different things. We didn't care. This is our house. We're the parent. Okay? Bring that phone in here, plug it up, bring those beats in here, plug them up, and good night. Because the goal is not about raising children who can live without phones. The goal ought to be to raise children who can live without being controlled by technology. A phone ban for all my educators and all of my administrators, all my education leaders out there, hear me clearly when I say this. A phone ban is a policy, but for my parents, digital wisdom is a lifestyle.
Mm.
Mhm.
Anybody can pass a policy. What lifestyle are you trying to create for your young people in their lived experience?
Say that again. Digital.
A phone ban is a policy. Digital wisdom is a lifestyle.
Thank you. And I do want to let you guys know what a couple of our followers have said. Um, One of them said, facts, great point. When we were talking about, how parents play a role in how much time the child is using the phone. Then someone said, respect seems to be a foreign concept in today's society. And then also teaching a child how to respect authority is challenging when parents are trying to be the child's friend instead of their parent. And then someone also said codependency is equal to addictive behavior.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
it is addictive. Those
Yeah.
algorithms were built and designed with that purpose in mind. So it's not just the young people or the child or the students who are addicted to technology. Us adults are.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So the questions we really should be asking is a phone ban preparing students for real world, or is it sheltering them from it?
Mm.
What role should parents play once students leave school each day? Should the
Yeah.
school be teaching digital citizenship as seriously as we're teaching math and science and reading? How do we balance technology education benefits with its mental health risk? It's a lot that's going on.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Are we
yeah, and
raising consumers of technology, or are we creating um, leaders who know how to use technology wisely? It's some heavy questions that we have to deal
Yeah.
with.
it's. But the questions we owe it to our children to ask these questions. We owe it to them because we're supposed to be guiding and directing them. So I think the questions are tough, but we owe it to them. And one question, and you touched on this, Pastor Weaver, when you said, "Is this really a phone problem or an adult problem?"
Mhm.
And then have adults, are we modeling healthy phone habits?
Yeah,
What you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I
and
like
we have.
one of the things you
Go
said
ahead,
something.
Coach.
You said something, Pastor, that I thought was very important when you were talking about not allowing your kids to go to bed with their phones, and it didn't matter if they had an attitude or not, right? And I think that's so important because you do have some parents that are very uncomfortable with those emotions from their children, if it's an attitude or if they're feeling a ways about maybe taking the phone, saying no to them, which I think that's the problem that spills over when they go into school, right? So if the parent is um bothered, by how they feel, or uncomfortable with their reaction of your no, or their reaction of saying no, you can't go to bed with your phone, that that spills over into how they respond to teachers and
Absolutely.
authority in school, right?
Most definitely.
So like you said, there is no perfect balance, because on one hand, phones can improve learning. They can be used as a learning tool, but then on the other hand, there is this psychological protection that needs to happen, like this safeguard of the mental health shield, if you will.
Hmm.
So there is a balance, and it is a dance. I had one of my cousin's daughters lived with us for about 8 months, and she was a junior in high school, and I had to go to the school for like a parent teachers meeting, and the phone was an issue, and this was like 10 years ago.
Hmm.
I said, well, if the phone's an issue, just take it, take the phone. And they were explaining to me why they are afraid of taking the phone. So even these bans and even these things put in place, like, is now, how do the teachers protect themselves when a child gets violent? Because some of them do get violent. I think it puts administration, or the teachers, the frontliners, if you will,
Correct.
it can
Correct.
potentially put them at risk.
Correct.
Hmm.
So, it's a very nuanced
It's a
conversation,
delicate.
and
It's a de-
it's here to
and maybe
stay.
that's a conversation we need to continue next week, right? Is the reaction and the response? Because I know when I was in K-12 world, um, if a student's phone got confiscated at school, we had parents that come up there faster than us can get them to come for a parent teacher conference.
Mhm.
That's on the calendar and been scheduled all academic year.
Right, right.
But they'll show up there. When they show up, they don't care what they look like. They don't care what their language is, because they're coming to get this phone because I paid, $2,000 for my child's phone and those different
Mhm.
things. Right? So it's a nuanced conversation. I remember um, admiring the way that my wife handled that in our home, because again, they're teenagers, they're young people, they're children, they're going to have attitude, and no matter what time she told them to put the phone up, if she told them to put them up at 8:30, it was an attitude. If it's 9:30, it was an attitude. We went as late as 10 o'clock at night, and there was an attitude. But she never bowed to the attitude.
Mhm.
She said, "Well, if you can't sleep, then read a book, build your literacy skills." Right? The moment they start reading a book, they're out in a few minutes.
Yep.
But they got that phone. They wake up next morning. My son would have bags under his eyes, and he'll say, "No, I slept." We can tell you've been on that phone. If we scroll through that phone right now, we can tell. But it's setting them up because now that he's off at college, we're not there to police it. But we sat with him yesterday to go through his college schedule. You have an 8 a.m. class. You're gonna have to wake yourself up. We can't be there to wake you up, right? So have we set him up at home for him to be successful in the world? So this phone ban. Let me say one more thing about this phone ban to our parents and to our community. School district did not just sit around and decide we're gonna come up with the phone ban. When it was time to develop these policies, they were actually meetings that they've invited the public to come and have input on. Having your say in a chat box on social media, that's not where the policymakers are, right? They invite you to come to several forums and to be able to share your concern. Yeah? But well, my child needs to have a phone for safety reasons. If anything happened, to be able to get in touch with them. Well, we grew up where we went to school and stuff happened at school. We ain't had no phones. As a matter of fact, they tell you if there's an emergency at the school, here's the 2 things you ought not to do. If there's an emergency at the school, you see on the news that there's a school shooting, and I know it's traumatic. Let's use that. There's a school. Here's the 2 things they say not to do.
Don't call that phone.
Don't show up. Right? Don't show up, because if you show up, you're now creating a traffic situation that emergency personnel can't get through.
Correct.
That's the other thing that you can't do, because we go through a lot of stuff in the K-12 world with drills for fire, drills for active shooter, what you're supposed to do. All the students, if you start digging up their phones, guess who won't be able to find them when they're trying to hide?
Yep.
Hello, somebody. Right? And so that's the conversation we need to be having, that we need to be able to say to our children, just like you need to sleep for at least 8 hours without the distraction of the phone, you need to be able to be in the educational space for 6 hours without the distraction of the phone. I was introduced to this a couple of years ago. My wife and I went to go see Kevin Hart at one of the arenas here in Atlanta. And it was the first time I was introduced to what's called the phone couch.
The what?
Yeah.
Couch.
Yeah.
You couldn't take any pictures. There were no videos or anything. So on your way in through the security, you had to put your phone in this pouch. And they locked your phone in this pouch that you couldn't get the phone out until after the concert was over, because once it's locked, you can't unlock it until you're on your way out of the arena. Right? I was amazed being in the arena with adults who had the pouch up to their ear like this, trying to work their phone while it's in the pouch. So if the adults doesn't have any discipline, what is happening with our children?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first time seeing something like that too, Pastor. We saw Kevin Hart out here, and they put our phones in the pouch, and that was he was actually recording his Netflix special, and that was keeping the audience from recording it and putting it out there prematurely. But I mean, I'll say this, even, about me. One thing I will say, and I think that it is an addiction for me. I love watching women, men, it doesn't matter, on YouTube cleaning their house. I get such a dopamine reward from watching them clean up their space and tidy up and organize. And I
intervention for her too.
Listen, I'm telling you, I will watch it. It's so rewarding for me to see. I love it because I love a clean space, and it just does something to my senses. So I can understand, I can get that whole, the dopamine reward that folks get from the addiction. But one of the things I want to ask Dr. Cradle, you or Pastor, is in the curriculum in school, do they have any classes, say for instance, where they have classes where the intention is to have face-to-face dialogue, so that the students, understand social cues and how to navigate that, because that's what the phone takes away. It takes away from social cues, it takes away from the art of communication. And
Mhm.
is there like a class that is just intentional about that, where you just sit and you have dialogue with one another without technology, without, any other assistance outside of just communicating with another human being?
We try
No.
that. We leave that up to counselors to go in and do
Mhm.
these life skills. Um, and if you ask the students to put away their phones, guess what they do? They come in. They have these hoodies. It can be 100 degrees outside. They still gonna wear those hoodies. Right?
Yep.
They'll put their hoodies, the hat on. They're slouched down in the chair. It's as if they become lifeless without the device.
Mhm.
Students become lifeless without the device. Now, I will say this, and again, we're going to have to continue this conversation next week, because I will say this. Here's what we cannot do in the schools, and this is where the challenge is going to come in. We cannot have a phone restriction or a phone ban for students, but staff can walk around on their phones.
Mm.
Teachers can be in the classroom while you're supposed to be teaching, and you on your phone, right? The example has to be set in some way. Everybody has
Correct.
to be.
And when you say that, Pastor, that not only with the phone, but the way we as educators we dress, the way we talk, we can't have one expectation for the students and another for adults. And no, I better not say it because I still work there. I ain't gonna say that.
Tell you, it's an ongoing conversation, right? I was reading about one district, I believe it's in Texas somewhere, that built a new high school.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an innovative high school, but a part of they built in, and this is for everybody, from the principal all the way down to the freshmen. The moment you walk into the building, everybody's cell phone goes on lockdown. They automatically build something in that you can't access the network, and if
Mm-hmm.
you can't access the network, you can't even go. What the young people say, uh, don't use whatever. Right? Everybody's phone goes on lockdown, and they have
Wow.
built in technology within their the families were part of the design of it.
Mm-hmm.
They signed off on it. If there's ever an emergency, yes, there's a way for them to lift that lockdown. Right?
Right.
But I'm looking at the science of it, and I'm going to be following that. It's going to be a part of my dissertation to see if that helps us to recover some of this learning loss that
Yeah.
we have uh, been dealing with students, right? Because we talk about, well, the pandemic just exacerbated what's already been happening because
Mm-hmm.
of technology. Our
Right.
students don't even think for themselves anymore. We'll talk about this again um, later, about how teachers are talking about students, high school students. We have college students now who are turning in entire papers that's been generated by AI. At some point, you have to think for yourself. You have to
Mm-hmm.
process information.
Yeah. Before I forget, one of our followers said that digital citizenship is a required lesson in middle school, but it's not taken seriously. And I can see that happening where
It
it's,
has to start
because
that.
they might not get a grade per se. And that's one thing that drives a lot of our students. They want to know, well, is this for a grade? If so, how much? How much
How
does it
much? How
count?
much of my grade?
Yeah, how
It
much my
has.
grade? How much does it count?
It has
If
to
I
start.
cannot do this and if I can do bare minimum and get a D, I'm all right with that for digital citizenship. So I see that happening. And it's tough. It's tough. But another part of it, I believe, is when teachers develop relationships with their students, you have to talk to them,
Yes.
not just talking at them.
At them. Yeah.
You have to talk to them, and that's one of the ways you can reduce the the cell phone usage. Now that doesn't mean that there won't be slip ups, but at least if you have some type of relationship with them, you're able to say, hey, Kennard, remember we talked about that, put the phone up. And it's like, okay, But if you're not having, and it has to be an ongoing conversation.
Yes.
People think,
Yes.
oh, I put the rule up, it's on my rules or it's in the syllabus. Mm-mm. This has to be something that you visit more than just that one time. And in the visitation, you can let them talk, but also explaining why. You know,
And that relationship piece is important, right? When I was in the K-12 world, and I did the college and career, and students will come in there, and they will come in there, and they're, we'll be having our lesson or our conversation, and when they're on their phone, and they know that because we have set the temperature for the room. They know that if they're on their phone, I stop talking,
hmm
and they know what that means because your phone and I can't be speaking to you at the same time.
correct.
You're going to tune one of us out. So let's set these norms. Let's put the phone away. I have relationship with those young people to this day. Some of them are in college, some of them are in their young careers, and they still call me about concerns. And I ask them at times, what role is your technology addiction playing in da 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 da?
hmm
And we have those conversations. So again, for our parents, you have to take your powers back and be parent. Again, I keep throwing this out there about us. This is going to be continuing because here's the other thing that we're doing. We are holding our parents responsible to be parents, and they themselves have never been parents. They were never parented. That's
Yeah.
another conversation for another time.
Okay. Let me write that down because that,
That struck a
Right.
nerve there. Dr. Curtis was now, wait a minute.
huh,
They
Well,
themselves have never been parented, right? So
Mm.
they're when you and I'm not saying anything negative about it, but when you 16, 15, 16, 17, and you had a child, now you're 30 and you're raising an 18-year-old, you're not seen as the parent, you're seen as the friend.
you're seen as the friend. Pastor Weaver knows I say that all the time. When
I
when
can't
you're
beat that.
15, your mom is 30, grandma is 45. There's some
Choked on my water.
developmental things. There's some developmental pieces that have not occurred yet. And I'm not putting anybody down, but I'm just
No,
saying
it's the reality of it.
Yeah.
we and that's a whole nother conversation
Yeah.
too. Are we doing a disservice to young women who are becoming parents? Am I doing what I need to do to support these young women? And I like to think I am. I do try very hard, but I think we need to work at that and
Correct.
not just make assumptions just because someone becomes a mother that they know how to parent.
Yes.
It's challenging. And you have
We
to be
can't make
the
that
rule
assumption.
setter.
Yeah,
You have to be the one to say, no, I'm going to side with the teacher. You should not be having the phones out in the classroom. I tell my staff this all the time. I'm not paying you for you to come and be on your phone talking to other people who in the world are you talking to at 7 o'clock in the morning? Don't they have jobs too?
correct.
And if they don't have jobs, do they know that they're jeopardizing yours?
Mm-hmm.
And so
That's
those are
good.
those challenges as the educational leader, whether you're an administrator, a principal, whomever. You can't just walk around and want the teachers to enforce everything. The teacher's job is to teach.
Mm-hmm.
It is your job. If there's a phone issue that's going on, then an administrator needs to be able to handle that. And the administrator is not the counselor.
Correct.
Conversation.
Because they should have a different relationship with the counselor.
Correct.
That's
now-
a
So now we're introducing this phone ban. What type of training have the school district provided to educational leaders to de-escalate situation when the phone becomes the distraction now?
why
But they gonna
is
fight over their
Pastor
phones.
Weaver-
Mm-hmm.
why is Pastor Weaver trying to make me hang up? He's trying to make me hang up. But
You
stop this live right
You
now.
can't hang up on all the people now.
Okay.
Yeah, y'all got to take some kickboxing classes.
Right.
And protect yourself.
Yeah.
You got to protect
Okay.
yourself.
You're putting the teachers in a line of fire, and that's what
Yes,
the
you are.
administrators
Uh-huh.
should be doing.
Yes.
It's going to become combative.
Oh my gosh.
It's going to be
Yes.
so. No, the teacher's job should not be confiscate the phone in the classroom.
Nope.
So make it easier, parent. There's nowhere in the world Johnny should be in the 3rd grade running around with the iPhone, whatever the latest brand is.
Well,
In
before we go
third
any
grade.
further,
So
we
there we
do
go.
have a couple of comments. One says it comes back to teachers also to an extent as it is not being delivered with fidelity. And I think that's she was speaking on when we're setting the standard for phones. And then also, great point about relationships. That is the key to academic success and respect. Once students feel connected to you and know that you care, they will step up to the bar. You have to have expectations and standards. And when I was still in the classroom, I said that all the time. I would tell people, and I still say it to people that I mentor. I tell them if you lower the bar, they'll step down.
Yeah.
Do you want them stepping down?
Yep. Yep.
So we have to have, a high standard. I'll never forget. Well, I love to play. You talked about your phone addiction. I play word games on my phone all the time. That's my thing. I love word games. I love Scrabble. Yes, I still have the Scrabble. Yeah, okay. So one of the things that I did for a group of my students who have been labeled as behavioral issue students, I taught them how to play Scrabble because I wanted them to expand their vocabulary. I wanted them to think about strategies and how when you do one thing, how it impacts something else. So we would play Scrabble. And I tell you, the students they actually got so good, y'all. One of them almost beat me one time.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, gloves off. I'm not gonna tell you, I'm not giving you any more hints. I'm just gonna say this. But we that became our thing for that class.
I love
For
that.
the last bit of the class, we would play Scrabble, and I started to see them in their writing because they had a higher expectation for the words that they use. So we have to raise the bar. We have to, and if it means supporting our parents more, that's what we need to do. And parents, please don't take it as as saying you don't know what you're doing, because kids don't come out. They don't come out like on the cake box how it tells you everything. Kids don't come like that. Different things work for different students. But if you
like they say,
go ahead.
No, it just made me think of, they say it takes a village, to raise the children. It takes a village to support the parent.
Yes. So, wow. I think we're going to have to finish up this. We might have to do another show.
Let's do a part 2 next week.
Okay. I think, we have some more things we need to talk about. So before we go, Coach Lima, do you have any announcements?
I do not.
Okay. Pastor Weaver, any announcements?
Not so much announcements. Celebrations are on yesterday. What's today? No, the 31st. I was able to wrap up my semester. Guys, I did a marathon that I had I had 5 papers and a final exam in statistics. And
yikes.
a brother man was stressing. You hear me? I had 11:59. I had an 11:59 deadline. I think my last submission was 11:53 or something like that. I got that off. At the same time, I had applied for written some presentation proposals, and all of those rolled in at the same time. And so for the next few months, I'm going to be crisscrossing the Southeast and even the U.S. doing some presentations as we take information and look to empower people more. So look for us. We might be coming to a city or a state near you.
Awesome.
Congratulations. Awesome. That's awesome.
I have to toot my own horn too. One of my proposals has been accepted. And this was, I presented at the regional level last year because Pastor Weaver, you know how he loves to push you to do things. So he pushed me to do it. And
Coach Weaver, don't shake your head too fast. Let's listen to the conversation.
So he pushed me to present at the regional level. And then he said, well, go ahead and submit a proposal for the national. and my proposal was accepted. So my family in Norfolk will be happy to know that I will be presenting at a conference in Norfolk this semester. So I'll get with them and tell them the date so they can come and see me. But I'm excited about that. And also Cradle Inspired Enterprises and the She Leads Foundation, we're sponsoring another Brood for More event. I have been on a mission to support small businesses in the area. And we will be going to a place called Brewed Up in Lilburn. And the first 30 people to RSVP, I'm buying them a cup of coffee. I said nothing about any pastries. No, you get no pastries from me. I'll buy you a cup of coffee. But so the first 30 to RSVP, I will buy you a cup of coffee. You are on your own with your Danish and whatever else they have, but it's going to be a good time. So I'm excited about that.
And the conversation will be delicious. Yeah, the conversation will be delicious.
Yes.
And one last thing before we turn to Dr. Cradle for her always on point closings. Between our last show and our show tonight, one of our hosts had a birthday. So happy birthday, belated birthday to Dr. Cradle.
Thank you.
Birthday girl. Happy birthday. I'm sure somebody blessed her with some red stuff or red and black stuff or red, what the colors are. Somebody blessed her with some stuff.
You know they did. I had a fabulous birthday, and thank you to my husband and my daughter and family and friends for all the you guys know, well, you might not know, I love fresh flowers. Well, I got 7 bouquets of fresh flowers. So wow. I'm just like, just ecstatic. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for
and that hair is late. You hear me? That y'all see her hair? Just move your head to the from She get that stuff done on Thursdays, and then she sleeps standing up for the next 3 days.
Now, Pastor, knowing what day you get your hair done.
Everybody, you have to get Pastor to tell you the story. He called a meeting one day, and the meeting started. It was a Thursday, and the meeting started at 2:25. Guess who had their purse on their shoulder at 2:45?
That's a non-negotiable.
She said, I have a standing.
Non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. He was like, "Are you a standing appointment?" I am.
Yeah. I understand.
And then come to work Friday morning just to sleep. Did you sleep standing up?
And did.
Yeah.
But thank you all so much. I appreciate you. So as we close tonight, whether you agree with the policy or not, tonight reminds us that every generation faces a challenge that forces us to rethink how we learn, communicate, and connect. The question isn't simply whether students should have phones. Maybe the better question is whether our phones have too much influence over us. Technology is a wonderful tool, but it should never become our master. Thank you for leaning into another meaningful conversation with us. If tonight's discussion challenged your thinking, encouraged you, or gave you a new perspective, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with a parent, an educator, a student, or a friend. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And remember, growth doesn't happen when everyone agrees. It happens when we're willing to listen, learn, and engage with respect. Until next time, keep leaning into the conversations that matter. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.